Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Brought to you by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, Labor's Local 663, the Bank of Billings, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Labor's Local 663, and Great Southern Bank. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Going to Eugene High School. In this episode of High School Game Day, the Eugene Eagles are 6-1, and head coach Ethan Shackelford is kind enough to join us. Coach, hey, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Coach, you guys off to a great start, 17-1 on the season, a 14-9 finish, I believe, a year ago. Uh, talk about your team and just the maturity there, and what, if anything, did you have to replace coming into this year?
We graduated four seniors that played a lot of minutes last year. We graduated a lot of size. We last year we started 2'6'7" post players. We had a 6'4" forward also, and my point guard last year was a senior at 6 foot. His name's Aiden Summer. All those guys are in college now and doing bigger, better things. And but they were hard spots to fill. They all were really good role players and played their roles well, and they're very good to find. Um, you know, with what they did for us. But we were big. Graduating some size last year. I didn't really know what we looked like this year. I knew we had our two lead scorers back, which we have 5'8" guard Tyler Wren, who's was a leading scorer last year and was first team all conference, all district player. And then we had Caleb Walker, who was 6'7" last year, who averaged about 16 points, 10 rebounds a game. And so I knew we were going to be able to build around those guys, but it was question marks in those roles that we lost from last year and who was going to step up. And those two guys have skyrocketed this year. Their production, their efficiency, their leadership, they've just been tremendous. Caleb went from averaging 16 and 10 to this year he's averaging 24 points and 16 rebounds a game. Tyler, our point guard, he's averaging about 21 a game. And both those guys have had huge games last year and this year. Tyler scored 45 in a game last year to set our school record. And this year, Caleb broke it and scored 47 points and 30 rebounds against Versailles in second game of the season. So those guys have been great. And we've just kind of filled the rest of those spots by committee. We've played, three seniors in those other roles. We've got some good juniors that we've played and started at times, and we've got two freshmen that played a lot of minutes too. So um, everybody else is just kind of filling by committee. We've got good defenders that are quick. We've got a 6'3" post player as a junior who's we can play in two post scenarios with Caleb sometimes, but our third leading scorer changes night by night. We don't know who it's going to be, but when you got two seniors like Tyler and Caleb that can average over 50 points a game every night, um, you're going to be good. You're going to compete against some of the best teams you play, and everybody else is just when you get open shots, knock them down. We've got really good defenders that come off the bench and some guys that start, and I think that's what's helped our consistency from a year ago. We've really improved defensively from a year ago, and we've last year I think we gave up about 60 points a game, and this year we're holding teams to about 45, 46, maybe 47 points a game. So that's probably the success that we've had is our ability to defend in different ways, and of course Tyler and Caleb's offensive output is second to none. They're two elite players.
Just looking across some of the scores across the state, scores seem to be down, a little bit just on average. Not with you guys. You guys are averaging, probably 80 points a contest. Is that just a virtue of the characters in your lineup? Just you lost a couple of big guys last year. Have you decided to push the floor or push the ball up and down the floor a little bit more?
Yeah, we've pressed more this year in man-to-man style. Last year we would play, a 2-2-1, but sometimes it was just to try to control the pace. We didn't trap a ton out of it, and we'd play that back into his zone. But this year we've done some more run and jump principles. We tried to trail trap a lot more, and it's really just kind of a product of our players. Our identity of our team has grown because we've got a 6'8" post player that can handle the ball. That's one thing that helps is when Caleb Walker gets it. There's a lot of 6'8", 6'9" post players that when they get it, their coach is screaming, get it to a guard, get it to a guard. And for us, when Caleb gets it, I'm telling him to push the ball, get one or two breakout dribbles, and if no one stops you, keep going. And he's one of the toughest players I've ever had in the open court. He has good Euro step moves and plays under control. And with his size, his strides take up space. He can really get down the floor quick, and that just makes us more versatile. We can play with a lot of pace. We have 4 or 5 guys on the floor that can all handle the ball and attack in space. So it's not a preference. I do like to play fast and I like to press, but it's also, I think it kind of resembles the identity of our players. I think they like playing fast and getting a lot of shots up, and defensively they like to be spontaneous. We talk a lot about being spontaneous and being creative on defense. Um, we don't have a lot of requirements. We just have actions that we can do. We can trail trap. We can, in the post, in the lane, we really swipe and be active off the ball. And I think all of that with those kids, it just turned into a lot of possessions, a lot of shots, and we've been fortunate to force some turnovers too. And we rebound. We've won a rebounding battle. I think 16 out of 18 games. So, and we're a pretty efficient team too. We talk a lot about points per possession, and I think this first year I've head coached, in which I've had a team that's averaged 1 point per possession for a whole season. And we've had games where we're averaging 1.2, 1.3 points per possession, which is pretty insane for a high school team. So we've been efficient. We play fast. Our defense is pretty solid. We win the rebounding battle almost every night, and all those just transfer to a pretty efficient team. So
Getting visiting with Eugene Eagles head basketball coach Ethan Shackelford here on high school game day, and coach, just a little bit about your background. How long have you been at Eugene? Where'd you cut your teeth at, so to speak? Where'd you grow up?
this is my second year at Eugene. I took over for Craig Engelbrecht, who had been here for 30 years, and he's from Eugene. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He won almost 600 games in his high school career, and he's currently at Osage High School, just south of us. And when you talk about Eugene basketball, you can't not mention Craig Engelbrecht. So he's the guy who built this program, and I was at Capital City that year that he went on a quarterfinal run and won a lot of games, won a district title, and he retired. And when he retired, I was an assistant at Capital City at the time, the first year it had opened, and I always had my eye on a handful of jobs around in Missouri that I've seen always compete and have good players, but also have a good culture and good community support. And so when Eugene's head basketball job opened, I thought it was a no-brainer to apply and put my name in the hat. And fortunately enough, I was the one selected. So my my time at Capital City was just 1 year. Before that, I was head coach at South Shelby High School up in Northeast Missouri. Um, between it's up between Macon, Hannibal area, small Class 3 school. That was my first head coaching job. I was there for 2 years and was an assistant at Centralia before that. My first year teaching, and I was an assistant there. But my love for coaching really started when I was in college. I was an assistant at Noster High School for a couple of years under Adam Easterwood, who's the assistant principal there now. And he kind of gave me my in for coaching, and we really kind of rebuilt the program. Mark Anderson was there for a handful of years, had a lot of success, and when he left, we were kind of going through a dry spell of talent. We weren't. I think we won 7 games. I think my first year there as an assistant, and under the 4 years that Coach Eastwood was there, those wins just kept building and building, and finally, I think in our second last year, we won 24 games and won Warsaw Tournament Championship, won Clinton Tournament Championship, had a really good season. So I just fell in love with building a program that was sustainable, and fell in love with working with high school athletes, and that's kind of taken me to here today. My biggest mentor is Chris Nimmo, the head coach of Warrensburg. My last year of college, I went over to Warrensburg and was their head freshman coach for him. And Chris Nimmo, and Cody Bradfish was JV coach, who's at Pacific now as their head basketball coach. We've all stayed really close, and the relationship between just not just those coaches, but all the coaches I've coached against and worked with and worked under, assistants I've had, it makes coaching really rewarding, and I've really enjoyed it. So um, my coaching style is reflective of a lot of those guys I've worked for and worked with. So um, and that's probably all those guys are the ones that have helped me be successful at Eugene this year.
For just for the viewers here, Eugene, the area that you're in, kind of handicap your conference a little bit. Are you in a conference? First off, I know there's several schools maybe around that area that are without conferences. Are you in a conference, and if so, kind of handicap that and tell us a little bit about some of the members.
Yeah, we compete in the Show Me Conference, which is a lot of the small schools around the Jeff City area. So we go all directions around Jeff City, but Jeff City's kind of right in the middle. If that kind of gives some people a geographical region for us, we have really good Class One teams in our conference. St. Elizabeth has been a really good program as of lately. They've got good basketball tradition, baseball tradition. I think they've made, I want to say, 3 Final Four runs in the last 3 years, and they've got a good team this year too. We're the only Class Two team, but then Lynn is Class Three. Russellville, New Bloomfield, South Callaway are some of those Class Three teams we compete against in conference. And the biggest school, and they're probably the favorite to win our conference this year, will be Fatima High School. Ryan Robertson's over there at Fatima. They've competed really, really well in my 2 years here. It's been them at the top, them to be favorites to win conference. He's got a load of talent this year. They got 4 losses to good teams: Father Tolton, Blair Oaks. They lost to Kickapoo, I think a week or two ago, and I'm trying to think of the other team they lost to. They got 4 losses that are really quality games that they played. They're Class Four, so they're a little bit bigger enrollment with our conference. But this conference, it's an old conference. There's a lot of old schools that were in the original conference. That was the OMMC conference, I think, way back in the day. But it's a good basketball conference in which we contribute teams from Class One all the way up to Class Four, who compete really, really well in our region. But outside of our conference, Blair Oaks is about 7 miles down the road, and it's hard to not hear of Blair Oaks athletics. Or their teams are always competitive in all different sports, and Coach Fick does a good job up there. And other teams in our area that have been really successful that we played. We played Richland earlier this year, who's in our district. We played Vienna, who's in our district. We're Class Two, District 9, I believe, and that's where we'll head for postseason play down south towards Frisco League teams. With us, Richland, Vienna probably being the top 3 teams in our district this year. So, but we play a lot of schools in our area. We play a lot of the Tri-County teams, Osage, Versailles, Eldon. That's kind of our region that we stick around. So,
As you look at what you got coming up on your schedule, you've got the Eldon boys basketball tournament you're getting ready to participate in this week. 91st edition of this. It's got to be one of the oldest tournaments in the state.
I've had great fortune of competing in some good tournaments in Missouri with small school basketball. I think there's some claim that Monroe City might have one of the oldest tournaments. I think they're at 94th annual. And when I was at South Shelby, we played in that every year. Um, Eldon's got to be up there too with 91st, and it's a good tournament too. I want to say us and Richland are 2 small schools in there, and there's a Class 6 team like Smithcott and Sedalia is in it. There's some Class 4s and maybe 5s. I know Fatima got the 1 seed; they're in it, and they're on their Class 4 in there. But we got the 2 seed, which we were undefeated at the time of the seeding, and Richland got the 3, and so we're 3 of the smaller schools. But then it gets pretty big after that with Moberly, Osage, Smith Cotton is in there, Eldon, and Versailles rounds out that tournament. So it'll be competitive. We're in the 2-7 game, and I've told my players it's going to be a dogfight. We've played Eldon already. It's been one of our closer games this year. it's kind of a rivalry game with them being, within 10 minutes away. A lot of our kids know their kids. We send schools where we send students to their tech school, so our students kind of know their students. There's a little bit of some camaraderie there. So it won't be an easy game between the 2-7, and if we have the fortune to win, we got Versailles and Richland right there, who we've already played, and those were really good games too. So we played Versailles in Stover Tournament Championship, and slid by with an 8-point win, and Richland was a really really good game between two state ranked teams we played in last week. So it's a good tournament for us. We always look forward to Eldon tournament. We're glad to be in it.
Well, outstanding. Well, Coach Shackelford, I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time today. I know this is kind of everybody's getting into the conference part of their schedule and kind of trying to uh, look forward to districts and try and get the best seed that they can. But I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time.
Well, thanks for having us. The coverage you guys offer for sports, teams all around the state, is elite, and we appreciate your coverage. Thank you.
You bet, you bet, Coach Ethan Shackelford, Eugene Eagles, 17-1. They prepare to compete in the Eldon tournament. Certainly glad you've tuned in. As always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds could save your life. Be safe, be smart, be here tomorrow. And as always, keep it right here at the Missouri Sports Network.